Hello, I am the sorry. Ugh. I now I promised myself when I started these audio logs I would do them naturally, I uh I would do them like I'm talking to a friend or something like that, or do them naturally, not I say it from the heart, I ain't got no script or anything such as that. Like I I just got my mind. Honestly, I got one in my head, and my head currently is a little hindered. Got a rocking headache from some eye strain. I uh, I wear glasses sometimes to I don't know if it's called nearsighted or farsighted, but I can see things that are close to me, but not things that are far away. I can tell what they are. If I see something that looks like a J, I go, yeah, that's a J. But I can't see anything clearly. Sucks when I'm watching, like, I don't know, movies or something such as that. So I got a little bit of a headache from some eye strain, wearing my glasses a little bit. It's been a while since I wore them, so my eyes are they're adjusting. But like I said, I'm all this audio log that I'm doing right now. All right, we're off track, sadly, and it's mostly just going to be me talking. No script, no shit like that. Just me talking. If you if you do not know me, I am the New Englander. I I'll post this to my Twitter, and I mostly just use YouTube as a good archive center. Though I may transfer to somewhere else just to be safe. And yes, I am the New Englander at New Vermonter. God, I hate saying that. I don't want to advertise my Twitter to people because I'm not one of those guys that goes like, "Hey, follow my Twitter." No. I do this because I want to get my voice out there, especially in these stranger times. I want to get my voice out there and add it to the ranks of many other voices and young folk who are going against what's been going on lately. I did a test recording of this about a week or so ago, just to test things out, and I was told that my audio quality is good, which I'm glad. With just one guy, this good fellow that follows me, this fascist. I'm not saying that as an insult. He is a actual fascist. Been chatting with him a bit. He said that I was too close to the computer, and I was back when I did that recording. I was a bit too close to it because I was, like I said, it was mostly a test run. I had it on my bed. I'm just fumbling around with myself. Right now, I got it on my desk, and I am hopefully it's not too loud. But I think the reason my voice is a bit too loud in the audio is because that's just how I am. I believe I have a very booming voice. I talk loudly because this may sound narcissistic, but I do enjoy hearing how my voice sounds. So I mostly like hearing my own voices because I want to make sure I'm sounding right. I'm not sounding like a fool or something like that in the eyes of others. So that's the main reason I talk this way. Have it booming. Not to mention I got poor hearing, so it's a little not that poor, but it's hard for me to focus on conversations when there's background noise. So, like I said before, this is the official audio recording audio log that I'm doing for the Twitter. And I mostly want to introduce myself. And like I said, I'm the New Englander. And of course, you know who I am since I'll only be posting this video on my Twitter, so that's probably the most likely place you'll find it, or the YouTube. But I ain't gonna be touching that. And the main reason I'm doing these audio logs is, like I said, I want to get my voice out there. I want to join the ranks, of other young folk who are just tired of the way things are. And I'll tell you about myself. I'm a Vermonter, born and raised in Vermont, though I did leave it for a time when I was younger. My father fought in Desert Storm, fought over there in Iraq, served served as he was a field engineer. You see, he served his country well, and he still has some of the scars of when he was in the war, both physically and mentally. My mother was also in the military. She was stationed in Germany. She was mostly just a truck driver, nothing really important. Just driving cargo. She wasn't in the field like my father was. She was mostly in Germany with my sister. And she, my mother, God, I could talk about her for a while. Well, I won't say that for a different time. But both my parents served in their own ways, and my family's had a long history of service to the United States. My grandfather and great grandfather served in both world wars, both individually serving in them. And my family has military history outside of the United States. We can connect ourselves back to all the way to the War of the Roses back then. We're a family of merchants and explorers and like fighters. Like we have served in like under like the guidance of kings and such. We served our lords with honor and valor, like all good men should. And we've we're very expensive people. My family. My father's side is pure English, pure English. Well, my mother is her roots go all the way back to Scotland, all the way to the clans, and she left. Her ancestors left there before the clan wars began. Left and went to America and started a new life here. And I got Scottish in me because of my mother, and I got Native American because we're connected to one of the tribes here in New England. Well, my father, we have all sorts of things in us. We have Nordic because of the Norwegians who came and attacked the British Isles long ago and invaded and formed the Anglo-Saxons. And we have roots with them and all the Norse countries, while our main hub for our family has been the British Isles. But we do have other like European roots because of how expansive different cultures and different peoples can go to like spread across Europe. So oh, our because of the English owning some territory in France, our family was able to connect with the French in some ways with a couple French merchants and such. And from the French being so close to the German nations, and also because of the Norsemen going down south to Germania, that also was connected. So we're connected to Germans as well. It's just that huge European family tree and how all Europeans are connected in some way, shape, or form, you know? And we have all types of bits of things in history. We uh, we had a temple named after us. Not exactly named after us, but it is the same name. It's in the Middle East and it has a whole story and a saint connected to it. And that temple was destroyed many years ago, about still here in the 2010s, but it was destroyed by ISIS. They completely destroyed it. Nothing left. Destroyed all the relics that were located within the temple. So that was a shame. And so my ancestors came to America. My British ancestors came over to America, and my fathers told me about this recently. We had a ancestor who was a trader. He traded with the Native Americans and pretty much made a connection between them and the old colonies. Before the colonies became America, or even before the colonies were fully under the British Empire. Back when they just barely got there. He made connections with Native Americans and was very close with the Native Americans, and that was honestly his downfall because he was uh, he was accused of treason. So they were planning on executing him, the colonists. So he pretty much had to leave the colonies for, I think, the rest of his life and live among the natives. Stay with them because they welcomed him because he helped them out many times. And God, there's so many other connections we have with the world and such. And my family does have like a coat of arms, and we are connected to, like I said, the to the War of the Roses, and even before then, in the Hundred Years' War. And we have rubbed shoulders with kings, and we have our own little house, And when we came to America, we changed the title of our house, not where it's pretty much a whole different name, but pretty much changed a little way where it can still be said the same, but looks different. And I actually have my coat of arms on my door. It's it's not a good coat of arms. It's my mother's side, her Scottish clan side, and a cheaply made coat of arms of my father's family, the family that was in England long, long ago. And we still have kin in England, but very, very distant kin. And my mother, like I said, I'll tell you about my mother one of these days. She is, she's a unique woman. She says that there's some mysterious law out there, some unknown law saying that Englishmen cannot bear arms. They cannot have a coat of arms. And of course, she's saying this out of her fucking ass, let's be honest. And I don't know what this mysterious law is. She's saying, oh, the Scottish can have a coat of arms, but not the English, apparently. I don't know. Maybe she is referring to something in one shape, way, or form, but I doubt what she's saying is actually proper, probably nothing. I got off track. I'm sorry, but the main reason I'm doing these audio logs, like I said, is to get my voice out there and just rant, not fully rant, but talk about certain subjects. And today I want to talk about this has been on my mind for a while. Individualism. Individualism. Oh boy. So individualism has been something that's been really promoted as of late here in the West. And individualism, to an extent, is not bad. But to the way it's being used in the West by, of course, elitists and such, it's just it's leading to a lot of problems. Now, let's go back in time. Let's go back to the 50s. And of course, many people nowadays consider the 50s a quote unquote primitive time. But it was probably the best time for America, in all honesty. We just won the Second World War. We had we are accomplishing so much. We're pretty much profiting off of the destruction that happened in Europe. Pretty much bring in supplies and manpower to profit. European nations will pay us for bringing in all types of things to and helping them rebuild, rebuild Western Germany and rebuild France and rebuild Germany, not Germany, England, I'm sorry. Just rebuild all of Europe after the destruction that happened. And we were profiting off it. We were profiting perfectly. And the 50s are so well liked by people such as myself is because it seemed like it was a much more simpler outlook or a simpler time for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And I'm saying this is because there wasn't really a lot you had to worry about back in the 50s. Sure, there's the worry of nuclear war and such as that, but in all honesty, to the average civilian, it was honestly a simpler time. America was thriving. It was thriving culturally. It was thriving in population. It was thriving in agriculture and in industry and in Americano like culture. With how the style and the music, and it was still holding on to the jazz music of the 30s and 40s, but bringing in a new brand of music, and style. And the main thing that was most liked about the 50s was the family unit. And of course, many individuals nowadays consider the family unit something of the past, which they're ignorant. The family unit is important in many ways. And I've talked to many people about it and talked about many points of views, but we all agree that the family unit is important to crafting good citizens. And we can see that back in the 50s. As here is what the mother and father of the family unit should do. The mother stays at home, or at least stands by these following things. The mother is to teach her children compassion, reason, teach them how to put themselves in the shoes of others, how to love, how to care, how to be nice, how to actually be a good person, actually properly get along with your fellow citizen, your fellow man. And the father, well, hold on, let me get back to the mother. The mother is also teach you, like I said, love, how to love, how to care for your family, and how to just care for the family unit, be together. And let me get back to the father. The father is to teach a child right from wrong. It's right to treat others perfect. Treat them the way you want to be treated, and to obey the laws, to not be greedy or sinful or things such as that, to not be a degenerate, honestly, and to treat others the way you want to be treated. And to show you that there are consequences to doing wrong things. I'm better at writing things down, but you do get my point. The mother and father have their own things that they teach their children. For example, the father teaches a young man how to be masculine, how to properly, care for others, how to properly act among other people, how to. I'm trying to sit up straight to properly say this, but how to pretty much just wear the pants in the family, how to. Many have debated what makes a man, but I'll tell you what makes a man. What makes a man is a person who can protect his family, protect his faith, protect his neighbors. Someone who actually cares about their children's future. That is what a man is. Who actually wants to see them rise up and become something great so they can teach their children the same thing. It's just like genetics, how each new generation carries on the same genes. It's the same thing where one father teaches his son one thing that he will need to know on how to raise a family and how to be a good man. And then that guy will teach his child that, and it'll continue and continue and go on for God knows how many generations. It will teach the next generation how to be good men, how to be respectable citizens, and how to fight for their nation. Well, the mother teaches her children how to love, how to not be some emotional wreck that just doesn't care for others. It's just a greedy, self-centered human being. That is what the mother teaches. And these are needed. These are 100% needed in for like the family unit to work. If you're missing the mother, then that's one part of the family that cannot be taught. Of course, a man, or in another case, a woman, can teach what their partner can also teach without them. It is possible. I'm not gonna lie, it is possible, but it rarely succeeds, and I've seen that in my own life. I experienced it. I experienced a mother who, well, my parents are divorced. They've been divorced for over 17 years, probably. No, 20, over 20 years, and probably more. Yep, 20 years, as long as I've been alive. Probably a little bit more since there was a lot of bad blood that happened in the past. But I experienced it. My mother tried to have. She's a lesbian, if you did not know, those butch kind of lesbians, those tough ones, who are not afraid to fucking fight. And she tried to wear the pants of the house, be a man and teach me what a man should know. But it doesn't work in translation. Only men can understand how men feel, and that goes the same for women. Only women can know what women feel. And both genders cannot teach the same things. They cannot teach what a man cannot teach what a woman knows, and a woman cannot teach what a man knows. And I experienced this. My mother tried to have a rough hand, actually be someone, like teach me how to, in her words, buck up, you know, how to be strong, how to like actually have force, be a man. But it didn't work. She didn't teach it the same way a man teaches it. She taught it in a much more rougher sense, a rougher sense that in other ways hinders a person, hinders a child. A woman who tries to be strong, be butch, and try and be as manly as a man when teaching their children, it doesn't end well. It ends up with the child being confused. And in my case, just unsure, And when it comes to the man trying to teach something that a woman teaches, it doesn't seem right as well. When a man, I do feel like a man has a better, not even the man, I do feel like a man can teach compassion and love, but mattering on that type of man, it does hinder his masculinity. It does hinder the things that he must teach to be a man. I do feel like that happens. And I'm getting off topic, but you get my point. A man and a woman are needed to ensure good citizens who are not greedy, who are not self-centered, who are not spoiled little brats who spend their money away for nothing. And of course, through the 60s and 70s and 80s, this whole ideal started to go down the trash. Because in the 60s, we had these young kids from the 50s who would become really progressive, because of the race protests and like race rights and things like that, and those type of things that rose up during that time. They would become really progressive, and of course that will lead to what we call hippies, and that carry on into the 70s because of the Vietnam War that was going on, and many people going against it, and this will, and I do believe that in the 60s and 70s, communism did get a better stronghold in America, not through political parties, but through literature, through books and things like that young people would read. And I also feel like as Europe rebuilt and such, more, of course, there is anti-communist sentiment that did go on in America and Europe back then, of course, but I do feel like in places such as France and a couple other locations, and with how some young people were able to go to the Eastern Bloc, I do feel like when young people did go, like back then, did go to Europe, they did see these type of things. They did see communist and socialist elements, and did see what they call nowadays enlightenment and openness. Openness to transgenders, openness to homosexuals, things like that. And, they did see that type of thing in like nightclubs and such as that. And during the 60s and 70s, that started to take root, along with how the Vietnam War was going, along with the black rights and things like that, and along with how communist and socialist literature did start to squeeze in, and of course with Hollywood making a couple films that did go against a lot of things that were normal in America and Europe during the 50s and back before the 50s. It led to Hollywood making films such as Cabaret, and you can consider Cabaret whatever you like, but I do consider it as like a pro degenerate movie. It's a good movie. I love it honestly, but you can definitely see how it definitely supported things like homosexuality and things like that. And or at least that's what the people nowadays do see, as with how it's portrayed in plays and such that, and saying, "Oh, look at how progressive Germany was back in the 20s and early 30s before the Nazis took power. It was progressive, but it was a shithole." And with movies such as Cabaret and more other progressive movies coming into the market, there's all these different outlets and medias coming out of nowhere and molding the brains of those young people who came from the 50s and had their own style of and started to become progressive as they got older. And that went on to the 70s, and those guys making their own kids, that would go into the 80s and part of the 90s. Those are what we call baby boomers, I do believe. Those, the children of very fucking progressive parents. We did see that. And through all this was birthed individualism. Individualism is a self centered belief. It really is. And we're seeing it right as I speak, right here in modern day. It was birthed in the 60s and 70s, and along with black rights and such. And it continued going through as we progress more in technology, and slowly the old 50s culture that existed would be pushed out, saying like, "Oh, look at this. No one wants to be like this lady. Girls, don't you want to go to college and become a scientist? Look what we did. We sent a man to NASA, to the moon. Don't you want to do things like that? That should be written down in history books." Of course you do. So don't be like your grandma back in the 50s. Go to college, you get a degree. Things like that. And as the decades went by, things like homosexuality, individualism did open up for more LGBTQXYZ rights. And it did, like, individualism is, like I said, all about you. It's all about you. No one else. No one else gets in the way of what you want. And that sounds like one hell of a fucking. That's one hell of a deal, honestly. Imagine you're a young guy and you hear, huh. So if I do individualism, I can go and spend my parents' money on booze and whores and worry about college later? Sign me up. And we're seeing individualism nowadays. Now, you heard about the wine aunt, right? The wine aunt, the most good example of individualism. You're a young lady in your 20s. You're beautiful. And you have a sister. She is going to find herself a man, settle down, have a family. While you are going to go to college and get a degree. You get a degree in, I don't know, fucking sociology or something such as those lines. And you have a good degree. You have a decent type of job. And you spend your younger years going to bars, nightclubs, partying and drinking and shit like that. You go there and you meet some young guys, really nice, handsome looking guys. And you take them back to your house and you rut like fucking animals. Sorry for my foul language, monsieur. But, and you do this for most of your 20s. You notice you're aging a little bit, but it's all cool. All the while, as you party and drink and screw, Your sister, she got herself a man. She's got her own decent job, but she spends most of it at home caring for her her 3-year-old and her newborn. You visit them, spend time with the kids and play with them while you talk with your sister about the last piece of ass you had while you drink some nice wine. And as you get older, you start to age. How bad do you age? Well, you age normal, like a normal woman. You start to get wrinkles, and you don't look as good as you were when you were 20. But you can still catch a good man. Not as often, though. Remember those nice young men, those handsome men, maybe a couple blacks or exotics here and there, but mostly white dudes? Well, they're kind of gone. They kind of forgotten about you. You want to know who's left? We got uh, we got Greg from accounting. Just this average dude, not too handsome, but he can hold his own in bed. You're in your 30s now, drinking wine, no longer drinking whiskey or taking body shots. Your job is kind of doing well, but that degree you got wasn't really that smart. Let's be honest. It's pretty much just a piece of paper. No real thing holding it together. You're drinking wine, your job is average now, and you're with average guys. Well, your wife is in a very loving relationship with not your wife, your sister. She's in a very loving relationship with her husband, who she has never cheated on, and he hasn't cheated on her. And her kids are growing up and doing their thing, and you're still the wine aunt visiting at barbecues and bar mitzvahs and shit like that. You're visiting and such, and then you get the 40s, and beyond that, 50s. Oh, I'll get the 50s, don't you worry. Once you're at 40s, you're pretty much, you don't get as good guys anymore. Let's be honest, you get one pump chumps. That's what you get, one pump chumps. And you're no longer getting average or, well, you get a couple average, but you no longer get handsome guys. You take what you can get because all the average and handsome guys, and even some of the guys you're settling with right now, they're fucking walking on over to the more hotter chicks. What you used to be. You're fucking lucky if you're able to get the one pump chump guys to come with you after they have a couple shots of whiskey. So once the 40s are done, you may still look good in your 50s, but beyond that, you're just gonna be from wine aunt to crazy cat lady. Wine aunt, the crazy cat lady. That's how you end up. And I'm not. This ain't something I'm pulling out my ass. This has happened. You can meet ladies who are like this, 100%. You can meet these ladies who thought, I got a good college degree. I got a job that I'm being progressive. Who needs a family? Who needs anything